Now, Germany is at the polls to find Chancellor Angela Merkel's successor as she bows out soon. Results have been trickling in, with the centre-left Social Democrats claiming victory in the federal elections, telling the party of the Chancellor it should no longer be in power. Let's go live now and speak with Thomas Sparrow with our partners DW on the polls. Good morning to you, Thomas. First of all, how did the election go?
Ich kann nichts hören. The election certainly was very tight here in Germany. The result was very tight from the results that we found out today, this morning on Monday. The Social Democrats, so the SPD, managed to end in first place, but only narrowly ahead of the Conservative bloc. And what this essentially will mean is that coalition building in Germany in the next few months will be particularly difficult. You may know that in Germany you have to form a coalition in order to be in government, so there's not one party that has enough majority to form a government on its own. And basically what's going to happen now is that different parties will have to come together to try and find compromises and then try and sign that coalition agreement, which will determine not only what course Germany will take in the next 4 years, but also who will be the country's next chancellor, replacing Angela Merkel after 16 years.
The leader, Olaf Scholz, is already claiming victory in the polls. What's been his motivation and the reaction of Armin Laschet?
Those two leaders, so Armin Laschet from the Conservative bloc and Olaf Scholz from the Social Democrats, actually stressed that they would like to form a government. They would like to lead a government, obviously not with each other, but they would like to lead a government. And this is also a result of the fact that these elections have been so tight. So now the questions that many are asking here is not only which party will lead Germany's next government, but also with which other possibilities. And that's when you have to talk about the smaller parties, the so-called possible minority coalition partners like the Liberals, the FDP, or the Greens. They will be absolutely vital to build a new coalition in Germany. They're so-called kingmakers, and as such they have even indicated that they may start talking themselves and then decide whether they go to the Social Democrats or whether they go to the Conservatives on the other hand. But basically what this means also from an international point of view is that Germany, at least in the next few weeks and months, will be more and more concentrated on itself until it decides what the next government here will be.
What's been the relationship between the two rival parties?
The main topics in this election definitely were related also to climate change, for example, or the coronavirus pandemic. They were main election topics here in this country, but also people went to the polls to ask specifically for local or regional changes like pensions or education or things like that. Housing, also a big issue here in Germany and even in big cities like Berlin. So those were certainly topics that were important when it comes to why and what party people voted for. What comes next now is to try and also take those topics into consideration. So for example, each party obviously has a different focus. So the Greens would like a so-called climate government. The FDP, the Liberals, are business friendly. And then you have the Social Democrats, which are more focused on social issues. They like an increase to the minimum wage in Germany. Or the Conservatives, on the other hand, which broadly want a continuation of Angela Merkel's policies. So bringing all that together will be the next challenge for Germany's main parties in that formation of a coalition for the next 4 years.
Now, what are some of the concerns issues that came up in the election that concern Africans and Africans in Germany?
Africa has actually played an important role here in German politics for the last few years. It was a very important continent for Angela Merkel, especially in her last 4 years in office. You may know, for example, the Compact with Africa program, the goal of which was to promote private investment in a dozen African countries and bring those African countries together with European governments or with international organizations. It is a big question whether that will continue under a new government, so it will be interesting to follow in the next few weeks and months what the different parties promise when it comes to Africa. But you can say that probably Africa will continue to play a big role in German politics when it comes to other issues as well, like security and peace and stability, for example, in West Africa and in the Sahel region, or migration could also continue to play a big role in European politics, and Germany also in the next 4 years. So we don't know the details, but we do know that broadly Africa will continue to play a key role, a very important role for German politics in the era after Angela Merkel.
Let's talk about Angela Merkel herself. What's been her legacy as Chancellor?
Angela Merkel has been in charge for 16 years here in Germany, and she will continue in a caretaker capacity until a new government is formed. If Angela Merkel continues until the end of the year, until December 17th in particular, she will break a record as the longest serving Chancellor in post-war Germany, so the longest serving Chancellor of the German Republic, overtaking Helmut Kohl, who was the Chancellor of the reunification, a very important political figure in this country. So Angela Merkel will leave office with a very high popularity as well, considered internationally as a very important leader, a leader who played a key role in trying to get important commitments from other countries, for example, on climate. But here in Germany, that legacy is also has some shadows. For example, there are those who consider that Angela Merkel was too busy resolving crises and as such didn't have a proper vision for where she wanted to take Germany, and that she didn't manage to fulfill some of her goals, like for example more investment here in Germany or some of climate goals here in this country. So certainly an important legacy if you view it from abroad. Here in Germany the view is a little bit more nuanced.
All right, thank you very much, Thomas. Thomas Sparrow is with our partners DW in Germany for bringing us that update. You're watching News Desk. We're taking a break. We're bringing you business news. Thereafter, stay tuned in.